Come join Melissa and her guests on the Chats from the Blog Cabin podcast. From North Carolina, this podcast will have you feeling like you've known these folks for years. Listen in as they chat about life, culture, current events, and more, all with a special Southern flair. Curl up with your favorite beverage and get ready to be entertained. Tune in now for a unique experience that's fun and insightful.
Hey y'all, welcome back to another episode of Chats from the Blog Cabin. You know, the show where I virtually invite people into the blog cabin to chat about life. And today we're going to chat about skin. That is very important. It's like our biggest organ in our body, but yet people don't take care of it. And Emily is here with me. She's a licensed esthetician. I'm so glad I said that word right because I get caught up on it all the time.
I often get anesthesiologist. I'm like, I'm a little, nope, not really.
So Emily, tell us a little about yourself and then we'll start talking about skincare.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm Emily Trampetti. Like Melissa said, I'm a licensed esthetician. I'm board licensed in 3 states right now, including Wisconsin, Illinois, and Florida. And because the states are different for licensure, so I kind of like to do as much as I can there. I've been an esthetician for about 6 years. This is a second career for me, something that I've been dreaming of doing my whole life, but haven't really had the chance until now. So I've had my own spa, space, studio, and currently am growing my virtual skin coaching program.
Oh, that's something I want to talk about right off the bat. Virtual skin coaching program. What is that?
Yeah, totally. So I grew up in Wisconsin and I lived in Illinois and Chicago land for a long time. And when I first started becoming an esthetician, I opened up my very own spa in Chicago. But as you can imagine, I have lots of family and friends still in Wisconsin. And because of that, I developed this hybrid virtual skin coaching situation for folks that couldn't really travel down to get treatments. So I used kind of my knowledge and my experience over the years to figure out, okay, if I can't see someone's skin physically, is there a way to get around that? And so I created this really cool, and now it's really great because I've been doing it for 5 years, a great health kind of screening process that I do along with different self-made photography. And we talk and we get to know each other and I get to know your skin virtually. And then I basically recommend a customized skincare regimen based off of about 5 to 6 lines that I'm really intimate with on kind of what you should be doing to reach and then maintain your skin goals. And it's been really, really successful. In fact, I almost think sometimes I get better results virtually than in person because I found that in person, you know, people will save up and get their facials once a month or every couple weeks. Mm-hmm. And then I don't really see them in between. Where the coaching, I'm with you. I'm like, I call it, I'm your little like skin fairy godmother in your pocket, where you can email me, contact me, and I give you the tips, you know, all you need to know.
I love that because a lot of times people can't take the time to go get a facial or, you know, self-care is so important, but a lot of people can't do it. Yeah.
It's expensive, you know, and like home care, what you're doing to your skin every single day is actually, let's call it 80% of skincare. 20% is treatments. If you can afford it and you like it and you have maybe really, really aggressive goals for yourself, yeah, I recommend that. But if you're just looking to, you know, maintain healthy skin and, you know, you have really kind of more preventative goals, maybe like less corrective goals, home care is the way to go, and making sure that you're in like a good quality skincare line and ingredient profiles that are fit for your skin. I think that's like the most important thing you can do.
Now, you originally stated that you just got into this about 6 years ago. So
Yeah.
What were you doing before that?
So I've always wanted to be actually in skincare. Even growing up, you know, I was always into beauty and nails and hair and makeup and skincare. I had 2 grandmothers, both of my maternal and paternal grandmothers were really into beauty and skincare. And I just loved it. But as probably many of us were taught growing up, I was like, I had to go into something that was high paying in business or whatever. So because of maybe that, we'll call it inherent pressure, I went into the field of advertising and marketing and research. And so I was an advertising corporate strategist for about 12 years, actually,
Wow.
and kind of just climbed the corporate ladder. But after a while, I was like, this is not what God wants me to be doing right now. And I truly believe that I had a greater purpose. And I was like, now is the time to do this. And I was able to do it. And my husband kind of helped usher me and kind of help support me to go off and do that. And I did. So I went to one of the best schools I could find and graduated top of my class and never looked back.
I love that. And I love the fact that you said that you were in advertising and marketing, because now you know how to market your business, how to advertise your business. So you're like right there. You're like all the skills that you learned at your previous job, you can apply to this job as well.
Exactly. And I'm an extreme empath, and I think that really aided in my past career as well, because what my main job requirement was when I was in advertising and marketing was to help people find better experiences with brands. So I would have to talk to people all the time, be like, what are you looking for? Like, what do you wish that this brand would do, or the website would do, or customer service would do, that you would find this brand more valuable or provide more value to you? And so that really behooves itself to what I'm doing now, because my focus is not just science-backed skincare, me being a chemistry nerd and, all the science, but also saying, hey, Melissa, I want to get to know you, and I want to spend time with you and give you the appropriate amount of time so that you feel heard, valued, and that I'm on your side. And I'm not just, pushing you something, or, telling you things that you might not actually need, but it'll help my business. No, it's like all about my clients.
I love that. Now, you said you were licensed in 3 states. Why those 3 states? Obviously, Wisconsin and Illinois, because.
Right. So I was first licensed in Illinois. That's where I went to school. And then because of most of my friends and family in the virtual sense were in Wisconsin, I did it there. But my husband and I recently moved to Florida. So I got my license there as well. And I'll be starting treatments actually down there in October for those that are near my home in Winter Garden.
Oh, wow. So you've been all over. You went from extreme cold to extreme hot.
Yeah. And snakes and alligators, which I was not familiar with, but those are everywhere too.
Yeah, I'm in North Carolina. We don't have the alligators around where I'm at, but we do have the snakes. So
yeah, totally. So I'm becoming a Southern girl at heart.
So that brings me to the next question. Different climates affect our skins different ways. I mean, I'm sure your regime that you had when you were living in Illinois is totally different from when you now living in Florida.
Absolutely. I mean, you bring up such a good point that people don't think of a lot. And I'm constantly having to remind, my clients or those that follow me on social media, is that, humidity levels and temperature are extremely important to the skin. As you mentioned, and as you're probably familiar, the skin is an organ. It's part of our body and our system, and, our endocrine system too. Like, hormones affect our skin so much. But, when we have excess humidity, that creates moisture in our skin. Otherwise, we're constantly, you can almost think of the skin as constantly losing moisture. We call it TEWL, TEWL, or transepidermal water loss in aesthetics realm. But basically, it's just evaporating all the time, which is why it's important to keep the right products to maintain the right balance of moisture. So, for example, I tend to be, especially in the Midwest, dry and sensitive. But when I moved to Florida, okay, a couple things changed. Obviously, humidity and temperature changed, but also, we have a salt water softener in Florida, where we have hard water in Chicago. And even just that, right? My skin actually, over the course of probably about 8 to 9 months of being in Florida, became a little bit more combination oily. So I was having to then switch my skincare around to manage maybe a little bit more of that excessive oil. I also had a birth control switch. So at that point, because that's very much affected with our hormones and our skin and how it regulates sebum or oil, along with managing hydration levels just from that balance, I had to adjust to that as well. So really, like, if you think about skincare, you have to constantly be managing it, because if you were a teen suffering with acne and oily skin, and now you're, let's say, like 50 years old, if you're still using that regimen, I can guarantee it's wrong. right? Because
Mhm.
we're always fluctuating, whether it be health, geographically, drugs, all the stuff.
Yeah, that is so true. So, what should people, if they could only splurge on one thing for, I know it's impossible to say this, but if they could only splurge on one thing for their skin, what would you recommend?
So when you say splurge, do you mean like spend the most money on?
Yeah. Like if they had a limited budget and they
Yeah.
really want more bang for their buck.
Right. So I'm going to split this into two answers. One, the most important thing you can do for your skin is wear sunscreen daily, no matter what the season, no matter what the rain forecast says, sunscreen on. But you don't have to really splurge on that because you can find perfectly fine drugstore SPFs in there. But when it comes to active ingredients, especially from the realms of antioxidants, think about, retinoids, vitamin A derivatives, vitamin C, vitamin E. Um, let's call them just serums for now, because technically, or I'm sorry, generally speaking, serums tend to be the most bioavailable to our skin because they can sink in more deeply and they stay on the skin the longest and closest. So I would splurge on a serum probably that is more aligned with your goals. So, for example, if you are in your 20s, you're not really seeing a lot of wrinkles or any, sun damage yet, I would splurge on a really good vitamin C or antioxidant hydrating serum. And by splurge, too, because this could be a really long winded answer, but I'm trying to keep it short. Just because something is expensive doesn't mean that it is the best product or the best ingredient. Oftentimes more expensive products, especially in like the professional realm of things, are going to be better because the companies that at least I work with, I can be sure that they're sourcing. Let's say you have an ingredient, right? And it's a plant, and you have the plant stem, the leaf, the flower, and the root. A lot of times, the different parts of that plant are going to have different prices and different qualities and different
Mhm.
availabilities to deliver into the skin. But anyone can just put, let's say the plant is green tea. I'm going to slap green tea on the label, right? Well, you don't know if it's the root, the byproduct, the leaf, the flower, like what is the best part of the ingredient. And that also is a price difference. So, as much as we want to think that the most expensive product, let's talk about like La Mer, is the best,
Mhm.
right? There's also marketing, and people can market things as premium brands with better price, but they might not be the best brand. That's why it's important to work with a professional that's really intimate with the brands because they'll know what part of the plant is is like extracted for the product, how it's extracted, how it's formulated, all that kind of stuff. But to answer your question more in a simple sense, splurge on a good serum because that is going to stay in your skin longest and it's going to really do the most for you.
Yeah, I did not know that different parts of the plant had different price points. So, wow, you opened my eyes up already for that.
Yeah. I mean, ingredient sourcing is huge when it comes to skincare. And also, like, you really can't, even me being close to chemistry and formulation, from just a label, you really can't understand how it's formulated, which you shouldn't because it's proprietary to the companies. But, if something says vitamin C, well, there's a lot of different derivatives of vitamin C. Citric acid, a common preservative, is vitamin C,
Hmm.
but it's not going to do the same work, we'll call it, as, you know, tetrahexyldecyl ascorbate, which is the oil-based vitamin C derivative that is able to really help with brightening properties. So it's just kind of, you just got to know enough to, or work with someone that knows enough to get you in the product that's actually going to do something for you.
All right, we need to take a brief commercial break and then we'll be right back.
The threats women face today are unparalleled and even more dangerous than ever before. 1 in 3 women globally has been the victim of an assault. Women are terrified and they are looking for answers.
In the book, Street Smart Safety for Women, we draw on our experiences, both personal and professional, to provide those answers. It's by women, for women. Street Smart Safety for Women is available wherever books are sold.
And we are back chatting with Emily about skincare and the skin. Now, I will confess that I was not a firm believer of doing the pampering or anything else until last August. and I got my first facial, and oh my gosh, it is like heaven sent.
So relaxing, right?
So talk about, because I went in there not knowing what to expect. So let's talk about what to expect when you go in and get a facial,
Yeah.
because I was like, wow, it's a mind-boggling. It's like another level experience.
Well, first of all, what made you decide to get the facial at that point in your life?
I just said, you know what? I've never done this before. I'm all about trying new things, and I'm like, I need to start taking better care of myself. So I'm just going to book a facial.
Yeah. Well, I mean, besides the ultimate pampering, relaxation, self-care aspect of it, which I think we all could do a better job of in our lives, regular facials are great. And other corrective treatments, like I focus on chemical peels, microneedling, and more advanced corrective treatments when I do treatments. But facials are also a really just great part of infusing tons of really, really great ingredients into your skin. Think of it like a personal training workout, right? You're kind of just getting someone to help you through and get a really good workout, feeling the burn the next day, right? Not that you're burning on your skin, but it's like that one intense session that's really going to help you out and also prepare you then for what you're going to be doing in your home care. That's why a lot of estheticians and professionals will say, hey, here's what I recommend for you. It's like, I think there's so much of a fear of the product pushing, but you have to also understand that like we are looking out for your best interest. And if you're going to work with us, we're telling you what's going to work, and we're selling you our product because one, we're a small business and we're trying to support ourselves, and retail sales are a really big part of that. So please support your local esthetician. But also that's going to be the 80% that we talked about, right? Of your results. And if you're not going to be doing that, then really those personal training sessions, aren't going to be doing much. Kind of like if you're not going to work out in between the personal training sessions, okay, then why are you doing them?
That is so true. So let's talk about what to expect when people go in and get a facial or get a skincare treatment.
Yeah, totally. So the great thing is that, well, actually, first I want to back up. When you're looking for someone, read reviews, because just like any profession out there, there's going to be great and not so great, professionals out there. So you want someone that's going to be able to know your skin and spend time with you. A couple red flags I always tell people right away: if they don't give you a little bit of a consult or have you, fill out some health history, run. Okay, that's really important because you want to know someone's allergies, someone's health history, if they, are pregnant or, have cancer or are recovering from something, diabetic. You need to know that stuff because, again, the skin is going to be affected by everything, and especially based off the modality, or we'll call it device or treatment plan that we have for you. We're not going to do some things, or we're not going to apply certain ingredients to you based off of that. So definitely make sure someone does that with you. For other, just like a regular facial, let's say you're on vacation or something, it's just a very pampering experience. You're going to have like a really nice cleanse, a nice massage. Some folks, if you're going in for results, like let's say you have acne or you have more breakouts or congested skin, there might be some extractions involved, which can be a little uncomfortable, but they're really short. And it's just to kind of get some of that congestion out. You'll have a nice soothing mask and basically an infusion of really, really good serums and ingredients that will help to repair any, damage that's been done. Obviously not drastic overnight results, but it's just consider it like an IV drip for your skin, right? You're infusing a lot of ingredients that you don't normally do every single day. So it's kind of like a really nice little reboot for your skin. And if you do those regularly along with a recommended regimen, that's the ideal situation, And then also, if you're looking for more advanced correction, you can also, I'm going to use the workout analogy again. So we can always think about the more aggressive or corrective treatments in skincare, like more advanced skills in our physical abilities. So for example, if I haven't worked out in a long time, or I'm very unfit, whatever, and someone says, well, let's go run a marathon tomorrow, I would probably die or just get like really injured, right? So I would have to train my body for months to get to a point where I could actually do that. The skin is very similar in that it has to build up that strength, that health, that resiliency in order to take a corrective treatment. So if you just started skincare yesterday, you're like, I'm going to get a chemical peel. If your esthetician agrees to that, run. Because we really need to prep the skin in order to make sure that you get the results you want. And that will require facials in the beginning, home care, all that stuff.
Now let's talk about chemical peels, because I've heard about them and I've seen people where their skin's peeling up, but I don't know exactly what they are.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay.
So many people, when I say chemical peel, they say, is that like the Samantha episode in Sex and the City, or, all that stuff? And I'm like, no, so there's also, we're in a really good state of skincare right now from a technological standpoint. It's 2024. We have even more, a couple decades of science since like the 90s of things. The 80s and 90s were all about aggressive, really invasive treatments and like, let's burn the skin off and have it renew itself. But what we've learned over time is that the more aggressive or the more downtime you have after a treatment, really that might not be the best thing. It's almost like you're over injuring the skin, and the skin takes a lot longer to come back from that, than maybe doing it in a gentle way or finding protocols that can make the same results but not as much downtime or burning or depletion of the epidermis in the skin. So really, when I say chemical peel nowadays, it really can go from anything. Like you could have any skin condition whatsoever. I could do a very mild chemical peel on someone that has never done anything with their skin today, right? And they would have no downtime, and it would have good results, because there are different ways to cocktail acids, and each acid has its own qualities and how it can kind of react with the skin. Some are hydrating, some are brightening, some are more exfoliating. And the cool thing is I work with a couple lines that you can cocktail what you need. So think of it like creating your own ice cream sundae. You can kind of say, well, I want some of this, some of that, and I want some of this, right? And I'm going to do that. So really it's going to be kind of choose your own adventure, and you can have downtime. Like let's say you want a lot of correction. Maybe you have ice pick acne scars or really deep wrinkles. Yeah, you might have some peeling for a week or so. But, if you don't have to, we can still do things without a lot of downtime these days. So I wouldn't be afraid of chemical peels, especially if you work with someone like me that, is all about, okay, we can keep working your skin out and finding a creative blend, a customized blend for you.
I've also heard that chemical peels, sometimes most estheticians don't like to do them during the summer because the UV rays from the sun.
Yes. So peel season, if you do follow people on Instagram and whatever, tends to be fall and winter. For that exact reason, we're out in the sun less. Because if you have advanced chemical treatments, or even any advanced skincare treatments, I mean, even if you're not, stay out of the sun, because the sun is going to be the most anti-aging, or I'm sorry, the most aging parameter of life, right? See, that's just how it is. And it's going to be depleting of all of our skin's health and functionality. Peels, because they're exfoliating, right, will inherently expose new skin cells faster to that sunlight. So you can do them, but you want to make sure that you're being very religious about your sunscreen and your sun protective mechanisms. And if you are getting a chemical, because you can do them, but you have to make sure that you're using weaker acids, larger molecular based acids. So I do them in my clients, but I make sure that they're the right kinds to do in summer. And I also make sure that that person I'm working with knows clearly that if I do this, you need to stay out of the sun.
Yeah. So what are some of the tips that to stay out of the sun or to protect your skin from the sun?
Yeah. So, because I love analogies, as you've probably already discovered, I like to use a Swiss cheese analogy. So you can think of any form of sunscreen as a slice of Swiss cheese. It has holes. It's not perfect. There is no such thing as sunblock. Actually, the FDA has taken that term out because it is misleading that we're going to put this cream on, it's going to block all out sun. So first of all, sunscreen, you want at least SPF 30 That's going to give you the most protection. Any higher is going to be similar to SPF 30, but at least SPF 30. It doesn't matter if it's chemical or mineral, they're both fine. Typically, the mineral ones will create more white cast on the skin. So if you're a darker skin tone or you just hate white cast, I would go for a chemical version of it. There's also kind of some misinformation about chemical sunscreens being dangerous or unsafe. That is not true. They are fine. They just sometimes can cause irritation in some skins, but they don't leave a white cast, and they can provide a higher level of protection of UV rays. So first of all, I like to apply 2 fingers worth. So squeeze a little line on 2 fingers. That's enough for your face. A shot glass for your body. That's a good indicator of amount. And then you want to reapply that every 2 hours. In addition to that, sunglasses, hats, UPF clothing, staying in the shade, staying indoors with the peak hours of the sun, like between that noon, I don't know, like 11 to 1 kind of time period, are all really good practices. But the biggest one, like I said, get that sunscreen on every single morning, no matter what the forecast is, no matter what you're doing in the day, because that'll be a really good muscle memory habit for you.
Now, let's say, okay, you got your outfit on. Are you gonna use the sunscreen still on all over your body, even though your body is majority of it is covered?
If it's covered, I don't. Like if I'm like, because we're all human, right? So it's not like we're going to be this robotic. Like some of us will just play skip it once in a while. But if you can get that muscle memory in, it'll be good. Typically, what I do is, because I do work indoors a lot, I'm not too, crazy about getting every single inch of my body covered, right? I will just do what's exposed from my clothes. So like today I'm wearing a t-shirt, so I put sunscreen up to my upper arm. Just this morning, I haven't reapplied because I've been inside, but I do put it on because I ran out to get the mail and I ran out to take the garbage out. I had to go to the mailbox, all that stuff. That is accumulated sun exposure. If you're driving, same thing. Basically, if you can see the sky from your window anywhere, you're getting that UV exposure. My face, though, because I do sit near a window a lot, I will reapply that every couple hours.
And does that mess up your makeup when you're reapplying the sunscreen, or do you not just put makeup on at all?
No, I mean, so I will tell people typically, if you're going to a wedding, let's say you have a really full face of makeup on, I will say it's fine to use like those sprays or powders, but we have to be careful about those because it's really hard to get the appropriate amount of coverage with those products, especially the powders. But if you're in a one-time situation, that's better than nothing, okay? But from a daily perspective, and if you're not outside that much, you can do it too. But otherwise, I like a BB cream or something with SPF in it that I can reapply on top of things that won't mess things up too much.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, we're going into peak vacation travel season. What should people carry to make sure they have on hand? Obviously, SPF. That is 100%. But what should they carry, like when they're traveling for road trip? Because there's airlines that TSA has all these protocols and these regulations that you may not be able to carry your big bottle with you. So
totally. The good thing is there's lots of like under, I think it's 3 ounces or 4 ounces now is the size requirement. There's tons of travel options available. I really like Sunbum has a really good brand that has smaller bottles and versions of SPF. Your esthetician might have samples to give you. I do that all the time with my clients. In addition, don't forget the lips too. That's always a big one for me. I really recommend Aquaphor has a really great lip balm. I recommend Aquaphor anyway for lip hydration versus chapstick, because chapstick's going to be kind of putting you in an endless dry cycle. Aquaphor has an SPF 30 lip thing that I will reapply during the day all the time, and that's small, fits in your purse. The other thing to watch out for, especially if you're going to warmer places, which is probably everywhere in the summertime now, is to make sure that your sunscreen bottle doesn't get too hot, because different formulations, especially that are delicate and we want to keep them as effective as possible, can degrade in heat and extreme temperatures. So we want to make sure that you're not leaving it in a car all day, or something, keeping it with you at least. As you're going in and out of different air conditioning or different climate control aspects, will keep that product working at its highest level. So just be cautious of that. I actually am putting out Instagram posts later this week on what I do for packing a beach bag as an esthetician. And obviously, yeah, the sunscreen, and I'll bring body, face, all kinds of different versions just so I get them all in. And then a cover up, UPF hat, sunglasses, an umbrella even. It's really just about protecting yourself from the sun and making sure that you're not getting excess UV damage that's going to put your skincare goals behind. The other thing, apart from sun, is, when we're going on vacation, we're doing a lot of drinking, a lot of, staying up late and extra sugar and all that stuff, which you should be doing because it's a vacation. And you should be doing that in moderation anyway in your life, right? But I think setting expectations and keeping them a little bit lower when you go on vacation because of those aspects is really important as well. Because anytime you travel, especially if you travel in an airplane, you're going to have extra dehydration. You're going to have a little bit different of a circadian rhythm because of maybe time differences, or like we just said, staying up later, excess stress, all that stuff that will show up on the skin. So sometimes when I go on vacation, I'm just like, listen, my skin, I actually just expect it. My skin's gonna be a mess. And then therefore I can feel a little bit better because it's like, yeah, I'm putting my skin through a lot. It's a lot of exposure to different things. So, I will actually recommend someone just bring along a really nice hydrating mask and do that the first night, or, every night on your vacation. That might just kind of give your skin a little bit extra TLC when you're away.
Yeah, you just talked about sleep and hydration. How important is that for your skin?
Oh, super, super important. But there's a couple misnomers about hydration, for example. So people will say, well, I drink tons of water. I'm hydrated. Okay, you might be hydrated internally, but drinking water does not connect as linearly, I guess we could say, to hydrated skin as we think it does. Hydration that we drink goes to our internal organs, etc. It hardly gets down to our epidermal layers. So in order to hydrate our skin, we need to keep water in, which is all about moisturizer and the right ingredients topically to get into the skin. If we do want to consume anything to keep our skin hydrated, it's going to be omega-3 fatty acids, essential fatty acids. Think about, your healthy fats, cold water fish, nuts, seeds, olive oil, avocados, those types of things. Those ingredients will actually hydrate the skin. But otherwise, you can think of skin hydration as mostly topical for you. Sleep. Sleep is really, really important because you can think about it like, okay, let's think about Disney World or something where during the day you have tons of people there, they're trashing the place, there's, stuff everywhere, you're trying to keep up, but at the end of the day, you're like, okay, my night crew's got to come in and it's got to clean up everything and prepare things for the next day. This analogy works because you can picture it like if you don't get enough sleep, it's kind of like that, like half the crew didn't show up to clean up everything. So over nighttime, our skin goes through this huge rejuvenation process of healing, repairing damage, renewing a lot of different functionality to it. If we don't get enough sleep, that doesn't happen. And so it's like Disney World, no one came in that night, and the next morning there's still trash on the ground. And yeah, it's not going to look very good, right? So which is why we know that we're probably going to have extra bags under our eyes if we've been out late drinking, or even if we're really, really stressed and have been looking at the ceiling thinking about our to-do list all night long. Or, because we all do that. I mean, I do that too, but it's just being mindful that sleep is so important. And if you can, a quick tip too, silk pillowcase, because that's going to help keep your products in and work harder for you. It's good for your hair too.
I've also heard that when you do have a facial, to make sure you change your pillowcases.
You should be doing that regardless of anything, right? For my acne clients, I recommend changing your pillowcase every other day, at the very least every week. But normally, yeah, I'll do it for myself. I don't have acne, but I do it probably every 3 days. I will change my pillowcase, and I will actually bring my pillowcase along on vacation. Just be careful you don't forget it.
Yeah,
I've done that too.
Now, there's been a lot lately, buzzword clean beauty. Now, can we talk about that? Because you talk about putting chemicals on your face, and people are like, well, that's not good. You're putting all these chemicals on, but you're actually rejuvenating your skin by getting rid of some of the problem areas. Let's talk about clean beauty and what that actually is.
Sure. Yeah, the clean beauty movement is frustrating to me, being more of a science-based skincare expert, because clean beauty actually goes against a lot of actual data available out there. It is a marketing term. It does not have an actual definition or regulatory force behind it. It is primarily based off of fear mongering to the public. And it also tends to be with brands that don't have a lot of leg to stand on when it comes to efficacy. So when it comes to skincare, it takes a lot of money to come up with great formulations, great derivatives of ingredients that are stable, that get into the skin, and that work in the way we want them to work. Many people don't have that money, or they work with wholesalers, whatever, and so they need some sort of differentiating factor. This is how clean beauty started, was we're going to market our products as it doesn't have this. And, and all of a sudden when you say, well, this doesn't have this, think about the food industry, right? We're going to automatically think it's bad. And because we live in such a black and white society, it's like, oh, well, this has parabens. Oh God, it's going to kill me. Versus if we actually read the studies or follow people that have the credentials, like I follow tons of toxicologists. I have a lot of colleagues that are in the formulation space, the chemistry space, both in Europe and in America. So I stay very close to what is available for peer-reviewed data. And there is so much misinformation in that front. And mostly, in my opinion, that is too after, that kind of credential speech, is that a lot of the products that are marketed as clean tend to have the most issues with them, from like bacterial infections, lawsuits, different things like that, because they're not using corrective, preservative systems. They have, because we can't use parabens anymore, which was the most stable, safe preservative out there. We're using new ones that are causing irritation and different things. So, and then someone will say, well, then why is everyone taking those things out? It's because the consumers are demanding it because of the cycle that's been going on, right? So that's why I'm like, chemical sunscreens. I'm sure your neighbor might say, oh, well, they create cancer, or they cause cancer. Okay, well, where is she getting that information? I just challenge people to really critical think. But the challenge is most of us don't have the research chops or the science chops, right, to understand the studies, to understand, how to review them, how to understand them. So that's also creates a challenge. And with social media being in your face all the time with misinformation, it's hard. Like the skincare industry is really hard to navigate, even as a professional with chops, because there's just so much out there. And that's why it is important to just make sure that you're aligning yourself with the expert that is talking about the information versus just any old Joe out there that's talking about different things.
Yeah, that is so true. And I love the way you said toxicology, because if I have any questions on toxic stuff or toxicology, my daughter is studying and getting her PhD in environmental toxicology. So
fabulous.
That's like right there. And then my son-in-law is getting his in chemistry. So
right there. That's that. You can ask them questions all day long and they'll be like, yep, you're fine.
I think we're pretty much wrapping it up. Our time is almost up. Is there one last little nugget before we talk about where people can find you and how they can maybe book one of the what do we call it to begin with? The coaching, skin coaching.
Yeah,
book that?
I do the virtual skin consultations, which basically you can do a one-time deal or you can work with me monthly with the coaching. So there's lots of different flexible options there. But kind of like before we go or wrap up, the biggest thing in skincare, like you said before, I labeled my company Skin Properties because we should be looking at our skin like our property, like our house, right? You have to maintain it, because if you let it go, it becomes more expensive, more laborsome, even like too far gone to fix, right? And you can't just demolish your face and rebuild it. So we have to, because it is our first defense against a lot of different issues, health issues that we can develop, right? So take care of your skin by, if you don't know where to start, and I do actually highly recommend this, plug in with a local esthetician, okay? They will help you. They have knowledge. Don't rely on social media or YouTube or, different influencers out there, or even just like marketing, right? Like plug in with someone, because you actually will save money and save frustration, at least being confident in knowing what you should be using and maintaining that skin property of yours.
That is so true. Now, I want to briefly touch, because I just thought of something. As we're getting schooled in being an esthetician, do they tell you kind of some of the signs to look for maybe a melanoma, so that you can like say, hey, look, I think you need to go get this checked out to one of your clients?
Yeah, absolutely. As an esthetician, we can never diagnose anything. So we'd always recommend you go to a dermatologist for that. But we definitely see things, and we are trained in all skin diseases and abnormalities. So we can definitely say in our heads, oh, that's that, right? We can't probably say it to the client, but we can say this might be this, go get it checked out. Skin cancer, especially, we all think of skin cancer as just moles or irregular moles, but a lot of basal cell carcinoma or squamous cell carcinoma can look like an unhealed scratch or pimple. It can look like a shiny pearl-like raised, skin. It can even be like a black line on our nail. It can be different things. My biggest thing is just look for changes in things. If things aren't healing, that's a sign. Get in, get it checked out. What can go wrong just getting in early, right? This just won't heal. It's been 2 weeks. Get in, right? If I have a mole that's changing, obviously get in there. If I have anything that just looks like it's popped up recently and is changing form, get in there as well. But on top of that, get in with your dermatologist actually every year, just to have them check and maintain changes in your skin, because it's super easy. Most insurance covers it as well. But then you don't have to worry about it as much. They check it out. They keep tabs on the measurements of things, and especially in like your back where you can't see as much. So that always gives me a lot of peace of mind, and I really urge everyone to do that.
That's some great advice that you've given us today. So tell people where they can find you at.
Sure. So, I'm also coming out with a book later this year that is going to be, if you don't want to do coaching or anything, I wanted to make it even more accessible. It's going to be like a 20-week guide with all of my knowledge, just to give you as a book form to getting your best skin. So keep an eye out for that.
And you're welcome to come back on. Sorry. And talk about your book and promote it when it comes back on.
Oh, awesome. Thanks, Melissa. But you can follow me on Instagram at Skin Property. Or my website is www.skinproperty.co, or you can even email me directly at emily@skinproperty.co.
And you can answer all of their questions, or try to answer all their questions. Do you also send referrals? Let's say you're in Florida and there's somebody in Texas that's reaches out to you. Do you have like a line of people that you maybe say, hey, you might want to go check this one out, or just go read the reviews?
You mean for other estheticians?
Yeah.
I don't keep a knowledge about everybody is going on, but I can help and look at, bios and different things like that. Sometimes I'll even help clients figure out what treatments to get, depending on where they're at with their skin. But the best thing to do is just sign up for a consultation. I can kind of give you the best advice on where to go from there.
Well, Emily, thank you so much for coming on and for sharing your knowledge about skincare and about how important our skin is to our bodies, because basically if we don't take care of our skin, we're gonna not be here.
Right. Exactly. It's far more than just aesthetic.
Yes. So, and you're welcome to come back on whenever that book comes out.
Great.
And
awesome.
Thank you for sharing, and thank you for coming on.
Thank you so much, Melissa. Thanks, everybody.
Okay, guys, I will put in the show notes everywhere where you can find Emily. And if you're interested in her skin coaching, just email her. And until next time, guys, bye.